You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, the #1 resource for growing your function musician business. If you're a solo wedding singer, part of a 12-piece luxury show band, or anything in between, and want to learn from other successful musicians, you're in the right place.
You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast. This is Season 2, Episode 15. My name is Jack, and I am your host for this podcast, and I'm super excited to have you here. This podcast is all about helping you grow and manage your function musician business. Each week, I sit down with an amazing guest, and we discuss what's worked for them, what hasn't, and the valuable lessons that they've learned along the way. And together, we'll explore how to build a successful business without burning out in the process. So just quickly before we get into today's episode, earlier this week, I spent the day with Stuart Hutton, who was on earlier in Season 2, and we recorded all the mini episodes that are going to be coming out in between Season 2 and 3, which was really fun. Completely different vibe recording stuff in person, and I think there's going to be, there is some really useful content in there as well, so I'm excited to get those out. Also, this is your last chance to enter Season 2 giveaway, where you can win £100 just by sharing something on social media. To find out how to enter, head over to the Full-Time Function Musician Instagram. The winner will be announced at the end of next week's episode. I think that's it. Let's get into today's episode. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Christa Hugo. You're listening to the Full-Time Function Musician Podcast, and on today's episode, I'm really excited to be joined by wedding and event pianist Christa Hugo. Christa, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jack. Nice to be here.
Yeah, really excited for this one. I think it's going to be a really interesting episode. Again, this is one of my favorite things when people who listen to the podcast reach out with a cool idea for an episode. And that's exactly what Krista did. And the topic that we're going to be covering today is surviving the function musician scene as an introvert, which that idea instantly resonated with me because I would definitely call myself an introvert. And I've definitely had some struggles in music and in business as well because of that. So it will be really interesting to go into that in a little bit more detail, which we'll do a little bit later in the episode. But first things first, I would love to know a little bit more about you and your career.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's quite varied, my career, and it's taken all sorts of different tangents, so I'll try and keep it in a nutshell as much as I can. But I was always into music as a kid. I started learning, I think it was the guitar I picked up first, actually. Well, that's unless you count the recorder. Started on the guitar, moved to the piano, and also learnt the oboe as well. I was just always a very, very musical child. Took to it very, very easily.
Were your family musical as well, or?
No.
Yeah, that's interesting. Same as mine. Like none of my family were musical, so it's funny how that works out sometimes.
It is bizarre. I don't know what happened there. I mean, my brother has attempted to learn the guitar, and he still dabbles, but that's as far as it's ever gone. And my mum and dad certainly not at all.
Same, like they barely even listen to music, let alone play it.
Yeah, the same as mine. My dad does. My dad's quite into his country and what have you.
Yeah.
My mum, not really that interested. So yeah, it's strange, really strange. Although she'll probably tell me off for saying that. She'll say, "Oh no, I used to like Adam Faith and people like that when she was young in the 60s. But yeah, really, it kind of came out of nowhere. Just really took to it, and to the point where I got my first job actually at 12.
Yeah.
So my piano teacher recommended me to the local ballet school who needed a pianist on Saturdays. So I started working there on every Saturday, and I did it all the way through my schooling, basically. So until I left to go to uni. So that was a really good grounding in just playing for other people in terms of, getting paid to play something that somebody else needs. It was a really, really good grounding for me. And then that set me up, really. Then I went off to uni and did music at uni, and then went on to do a PGCE as well, teaching degree. So I became a qualified secondary school teacher as well. And then just from there, just went into teaching. To be honest, when I was and I've heard this quite a lot when I was at uni, the careers advice was basically non-existent. And I just remember being told, or certainly coming away with the impression, that you either teach or you become like a concert pianist, but very few people will do that. It's like the best of the best, or you teach. So that's basically how I ended up in teaching, because I thought that was my only other option. And it was fine. I did enjoy it. I did it for like 6 years in schools and privately and what have you. I did enjoy it. But I did definitely miss the actual playing side of things. So after a few years teaching, I came out of that, and I went back to my ballet roots. I actually saw a job advertised up in Birmingham, because I'm originally from Wiltshire, Southwest. Saw a job up in Birmingham to go and work full-time as a pianist at a vocational school, a vocational ballet school in Birmingham. So I applied for that and I got the job. And so then I uprooted everything and started again in Birmingham. This was in my, late 20s by this point. So then I was playing the piano for a living all day, every day, and absolutely loved it. And I've stuck with playing for ballet ever since, in one form or another. I still do it now, not full time. I work for the Royal Ballet School at weekends in their associates class up in Birmingham. And I also work for Birmingham Royal Ballet's dance track program. So with the very young kids, which is really good fun. Of a Thursday evening, which is good. So I've always kept my hand in with the ballet. But after I worked at the full time at the ballet school, I did that for a good few years, and then once again kind of got itchy feet a little bit and wanted to try something new again. And a job came up working as a choir leader for a very large choir organisation in the UK, which again basically became my full-time job, because I was doing that 4 nights a week, plus taking them off to gigs and what have you at the weekends a lot of the time. So that was very, very full on, and did that for nearly, it was like 9 years I did that. And that was more or less it was my main source of income at that time. I still did some work in ballet, bits and bobs, but that was my main thing. That was very, very full on. And certainly as an introvert, that was an interesting career choice, actually, because you're standing up in front of, at its peak, I had 300 singers with me every week. So split across 4 choirs. So I was standing up in front of them every night and leading them in song and just giving them a good evening out, really, because for a lot of them, it wasn't just about the singing. It was about the community and the social aspect as well, and just wanting to have a good time. So I had to make it really fun for them. And I think I did, certainly from the feedback that I get from people. It was a complete change of direction for me. And obviously, again, as an introvert, it was an interesting choice. Certainly at the start, I wasn't sure if it was right for me. It was like, can I do this? Is this right for my personality? But I threw myself into it and really thrived at it. Really, really, really thrived. Loved it. Honestly, I look back on those days with such fondness. I really do. I mean, it was a brilliant, brilliant way to make a living. Just the joy that you get from running those sessions, and as I say, the feedback that people gave me about the sessions and what it did for them. I mean, some of the comments people would say to me, like, you've really changed my life. Like this means so much to me, and I get so much from it. It was amazing, really. So I really do look back on those days with so much fondness. And I am starting to dip my toes a little bit back into the choir scene, singing scene recently, because I got taken on just for a few weeks by another choir organisation that just needed somebody to cover. And I was like, do I want to go back there again? Because the reason I came out of it really was it was so full on. It was so full on. And I did it for 9 years, and I lived and breathed that job. I really, really did. I put my absolute heart and soul into it. So I came out of it kind of reluctantly, really, because it was such an amazing job. I got so much from it. I'd met some amazing people, and we'd created such a bond, which I still have to this day. You know, I try and keep in touch with them over Facebook and what have you. Mm-hmm. So I did come out of it reluctantly, but at the same time, it was. I guess it was close to burnout, really. It was. Yeah. I just need to just step away. But I have dipped my toes back in recently. And as I say, it's as long as it's kind of on my terms, and as long as it's not like so much of a all-pervasive sort of commitment like it was before. You know, as long as I can run these odd sessions here and there that work for me, then that's, I think, the best way for me to do it. Yeah. But yeah, so I did the choir for a long time, and quite interestingly, the next thing that I got into, well, I kind of started doing it while I was still doing the choir, was I became an examiner with Trinity College, rock and pop examiner. And that, of course, is the complete polar opposite to working in the choir. So, you know, all of a sudden I'm doing this job where I'm literally sitting in a room, basically on my own, with one other person coming in and taking an exam and then leaving again. It was just, I think there was a reason I went into that as an introvert. It just suited me. It was just calm. It was quiet. It was, you know, I wasn't having to make small talk with these people. I was there to do a job. So that works really well for me. I still do that now. Although most of the work I do with that now, with the examining, is online, because since COVID, the grades went digital, or they set up a digital grades program, and they've still continued that now. And that is where I do most of my work now, is you know, every day I'm at home basically doing some exams, because I can do them kind of in my own time. They just send them across to me. So the candidates just record their videos, and then I'm assessing their videos basically, instead of doing it in person. Nice. Yeah, it's different. It's interesting, but it's such a fascinating job. It really is. You never know what you're going to get when you open up that video. You know, is it going to be a barely scraping a pass, or is it going to be like this amazing, like,
I mean, it must be fairly high standard though. Just for a base level. You get everything. You really do get everything. And it's guitar, bass, drums, vocals, keyboards that I assess. And it's a fascinating job. Is that hard? Like for example, not being a drummer, to like get the intricacies of like a drum exam, or you say not being a drummer. I've been learning the drums myself, mate. At least an instrument that you don't play, then. Yeah, I have taught myself the drums. Very basic, but I have taught myself the drums. It's something I'd wanted to do for years, to be honest. And when I knew I was going to be applying to be an examiner, I was like, if I want to do this, I should probably actually know, you know, how to play the drums. So I did, so I taught myself. So I'm of a standard where I'm good enough to. And to be honest, what you're doing when you're doing the exam, and this is why, you know, you take any musical exam. Generally speaking, you're not going to be assessed by somebody that's a specialist in your instrument. It's usually across the board, but as a competent musician, you should be able to at least know what, even if you couldn't necessarily do it yourself, you should know what it should be sounding like, and what a good performance looks and sounds like. Because these are very much kind of based on performance. It's not just, it's a bit different to the classical exams, I think, where it's a bit more, you know, it's just, can you play this piece of music that's put in front of you, sort of thing. This is very much performance based. So we're not just looking for musical perfection. We're looking for, are you giving a good performance? Are you communicating? Are you really engaged with what you're playing? So it's an interesting job. But I mean, I other than the bass, which I don't play, but you know, I know my way around a guitar. I sing. Obviously I'm a pianist, so keyboards is great. I know enough about the drums. So I've kind of got it all covered really, so it's fine. So and then recently, well, I say recently, the last few years, I just decided to put myself out there playing for events and weddings and what have you. And it's something I've done over the years, on the odd occasion for family and friends and what have you. And I decided to just
go all out with that basically, and just really start to take that more seriously. So that's kind of where I've got to now, really.
Yeah.
So currently, ballet, exams, care homes as well. I play for care homes virtually, which is an interesting experience, but really good fun. And weddings and events, and the odd group singing thing I'm doing as well. So a bit of everything.
Yeah, lots of diverse stuff in there. Do you have a favourite that you like to do the most at the moment?
Oh, that's really hard to answer, actually, because I like it all, and they all bring so much, like, different things. So the examining is great because I can just really, I mean, again, that's great for my introversion. Because if I was doing weddings all the time, I don't think I could. Yeah. It would be too much. It would be too much for me, in terms of the social aspect and the putting myself out there and the having to be, a certain way with people all the time. I know when I'm doing those exams that I can just be in my own little world. Yeah. Whether I'm doing them in person or whether I'm doing them online, it doesn't rely on me having to be out there at all. So that works for me. The ballet is amazing. I mean, that's just, I always think that it's such a privilege of a job, that one. You're getting to work with, depending on the level, but, generally speaking, I'm working with, it is usually kids that are training to be professional dancers. Yeah. And certainly when you're working with the higher levels, what they can do is just, it blows my mind. And and the synergy that you get from dancer and musician is just such a amazing thing. It really is. And I'm free playing for classes because there's no set music or anything when you're playing for a ballet class. It's the teacher sets the exercise and then you play something that is going to fit that. And you need to, I mean, obviously I've done it for years, but you couldn't just walk in as a pianist to a ballet class and know what to do. It's something that I've had to learn over the years. Okay, what sort of music works for this sort of exercise? What do they need here? What do they need there? How can I help the dancers with my music? So it's always interesting. It really enables me to be creative and, just again, every class is different. It's always interesting. So I absolutely love that. Weddings are amazing because that again is just so, I get to use my creativity. What I really, really push with my sort of marketing when I'm promoting what I can do is I say to people that basically, I'll play anything more or less. So, I do get some crazy requests. But I want couples to have their perfect day because I know how much music means to me. So if it was me, I would be like, right, I need this song, so for example, I've got all my songs planned out for my funeral. I mean, I don't know if that's a bit morbid, but like, I would want that song at this point. And, so I know how important it is that the music is right at a wedding because it's such an important day for people. So I like to say, just tell me what you need and I will give it to you. And some, people react differently to that. Some people are just like, well, I don't really mind, play whatever. They might come up with one or two songs for the ceremony, but other than that, they'll be like, yeah, just play anything. And then other people will come to you with this long list of, they want these songs at the reception and these songs at different points in the ceremony. And I like to be able to accommodate that. And I know I can do that. I know I can turn my hand to anything, basically. Yeah. I don't like to restrict people to a repertoire. Like, these are the songs I play, pick one. And that's worked really well for me, so I do tend to get a lot of people saying, oh, I see that you just will play anything that we ask. So can you do this? So that's worked really well for me. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, that must be quite a fun challenge when you get something
it really
you've never heard of, something
is.
Interesting.
I love it because it does keep it interesting. And I mean, honestly, there's nothing I love more than sitting down at the piano and playing, and it's just, the fact that I get to do it for a living is amazing. But honestly, there's nothing I love more. I would literally spend my whole time playing the piano, I think, if I could. So when people come and say, okay, can you do this? I'm like, oh, great, something else to learn. And I just love it. I really, really do. I just love it so much.
What's the strangest request that you've had?
Well, something I've got coming up is, I can't remember what it's called, but and I can't probably say too much because I've been asked, like, it's a secret. I think it's a secret for the groom, but it's this kind of dancey piece that I'd never heard of before.
Yeah.
That you wouldn't really think would lend itself to the piano.
Yeah.
It's quite repetitive. There's not much to it. There's like 4 notes, just repeating. So maybe with the odd slight chord change. So I've had to really think outside the box to make that interesting. Because initially I was like, oh, how's this going to work? But yeah, so I do get some odd things, and things like the Jurassic Park theme, walking down the aisle, and what else? The Rocky theme, all sorts of things. But yeah, it's always interesting. And some, a lot of the time it's things I've never heard of before as well, that are just special pieces for that couple. Yeah. That might be a bit off the wall. But again, it's always interesting just finding new stuff.
Awesome. Yes. I mean, yeah, it must help, like in a financial way as well, having such a diverse, sort of pool of things to pick from as well, that keeps you secure that way. Yeah.
I mean, I think it's great for me because I just need variety. I think that's the thing I've learned over the years. I have been in jobs, as I've already said, where I have been, that is my job, and I'm sticking with that one thing more or less. And it's fine for a time, but I do value being able to be free to do other things. And yeah, certainly in terms of financial stability, because you never know what's around the corner in terms of things suddenly going quiet or whatever could happen. So I feel like I've got my eggs in lots of baskets. And yeah, that does give me some security. And also a couple of my jobs are actually employed, amazingly. Yeah. As a musician, which is not always that common. Yeah. So that in itself brings a little bit of stability. Yeah. That is that like employers, so you get like the pension benefits and things like that as well? Yeah. Great. I mean, it's not very much because obviously you're only doing a few hours a week or whatever, but it all adds up, doesn't it? Yeah, so it's good. This podcast is sponsored by my business, InFocus Recording Company. At InFocus, we specialize in creating exciting cinematic show reels for professional function musicians. We also offer photo shoots and custom logo design, helping you bring all your branding together into one cohesive package. Whether you're a solo artist or part of a 12-piece luxury show band, having standout promo material and strong branding is essential to growing your business and booking more gigs. If you're interested in checking out some of our work and learning more, head over to infocusrecordingcompany.co.uk. So let's move on to our sort of topic for today's episode a little bit then. And again, that is being an introvert and a musician, and like sort of how you've managed to handle that through your career. I mean, just for me personally, and I don't know if this is just like an age thing, but I definitely struggled more with it when I was younger than I do now. But I don't know if that's just literally age or it's because you've learned to deal with it better as you get older, What's your experience from when you were younger? Yeah, do you know, I almost think I've gone the other way, funnily enough. Because another thing I think I should point out is introversion is not the same as being shy. It's completely different. I think people get it confused. So introversion, from my understanding anyway, and I'm not a psychologist, I've just read stuff. Introversion, from my understanding, is just where you get your energy from. So if you're an extrovert, you need people around you because that makes you feel alive and it gives you energy. And if you don't have people around you, you just feel a bit lost and a bit, you just feel like you've got no energy because you need that energy from other people. Whereas as an introvert, you are the complete opposite. Being with other people kind of really drains you. Yeah. It doesn't mean that you hate people. Yeah. It just means that it takes a lot out of you. Yeah. And you thrive best when you're on your own in a calm, well, not necessarily on your own, but certainly in smaller groups. So maybe one-on-one is a good example, in a quiet, calm environment. So it's not the same as being shy. I would say that I've got less shy as I've got older.
Reframe that as, absolutely.
I would say I've got less shy. But I would say actually, and I don't know, because I was thinking about this when I was thinking about, obviously today's episode, I was thinking I used to be, and I don't know if this is just being young, this is just what you do, but certainly when I was younger, I was a lot more out there in terms of going out and partying and, I used to sing in a couple of bands, and we used to do weddings, and it was the disco part of the evening. So it was quite loud and rowdy, and I can think of nothing worse now doing that. Like when I do the weddings, obviously I'm doing the ceremony and the drinks reception, the calm bit of the wedding. So that is fine. That works for me. But doing the party at the end, that kind of fills me with a little bit of dread, really, because it's just too much noise, too much going on, too much stimulation.
Too late at night as well.
Yeah, late night. Tell me about it. Yeah, well, that's kind of partly why I don't sing in bands anymore. I can't be doing with this getting home at 4 a.m. anymore. So I did do all of that stuff before. I don't know whether it was more the energy of youth. I don't know, but anyway, I would say I've got more. I've settled, and I think I've just become more accepting of being an introvert, because this is the other thing. Society definitely favors extroverts. I would say it's held up as like the gold standard is to be charismatic and to be, put yourself out there. And especially with social media. I mean, social media is an extension of that, I think. The louder, the bigger personality you can present on social media, the better. And that, obviously, to me, is not the way I like to be. So I find social media really, really difficult. I really don't enjoy social media. At all.
But you still do it?
I still do it because you have to do it, basically.
Do you get much work from your social media?
I don't think I do. I think I've had maybe a couple. But I mean, I'm not very good at social media. This is the thing. I mean, I'm still learning with it. I really, and it's as much as, I love what I do, but there's aspects of what I do that I do because I have to. And social media is very much part of that. I'm not very good at it because I don't think I'm very good at it in terms of, like, I've never been interested. If I wasn't doing it for work, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be on anything, basically, because again, it's social media. As an introvert, it's not necessary. I don't need to be speaking to all these people all the time. It doesn't fill me with any, it doesn't bring me anything. I would rather have a proper one-on-one meaningful conversation with somebody than just be shouting about what I'm doing online all the time to a load of like people that I don't really know. So I find it difficult doing that. And I'm just not very, I don't know if it's technologically minded. It's not that I'm not technologically minded, but I'm just not that interested in learning all about the algorithms and because it feels so fake as well. It just feels like you've just got to put stuff out there to fit a certain mold and to fit the way that this platform has decided it wants you to be. And I can't, I don't like having to play that game. Basically, but I do it because you have to if you want to be seen, basically. But having said that, I don't think much of my business has come from social media at all. It has actually come from platforms that I'm on, agency platforms and what have you. That tends to be where the business comes from, really.
So let's move aside from social media a bit then and talk about the more in-person social experiences that we will have to have, like networking and just hanging out with people when you've got like the pre-show stuff and like and talking to clients as well? Like how does that how do you deal with that sort of stuff now?
Yeah, so throughout my life I kind of kick myself a little bit now, because it would be very useful now, or would have been very useful now, if I had been more of an extrovert, I guess, throughout my life, because I would have been naturally making connections throughout my life. I would be networking just organically. I would be getting to know people. I would be, as I say, making those professional connections, which potentially could be helping me. Because really, throughout my life, I've not really needed it. Mm-hmm. You know, in terms of the other work that I've done, in terms of, you know, once you, well, because I find that the work that I get a lot of the time, it does come from, you know, people recommending me, but I think it's just because I'm good at the job rather than I've made all these social connections, if you see what I mean. And also, certainly with some of the worlds that I move in, such as the ballet world, it's quite a small world. So once you're known as being good at the job, people will just pass your name around, and then you'll get asked to play for this, that, and the other. But yeah, I've not really needed to be a really massively networky person, I don't think, over the years. But now that I'm out there more as a freelance pianist, I do kind of kick myself and think, oh, if only I'd have made those connections, I'm sure the work would be coming in a lot easier now. But on the other hand, you know, it feels like when I do get a job now, people are really, really, you know, they found me. They don't know me from Adam, but they found me, and they're liking what they're seeing. So it's like, okay, well, I'm not being given any help here. Yeah, it's not somebody saying, you know, well, book her because she's my mate. You know, they're booking me because they can see that, you know, I'm going to be good at what I do. So that's quite pleasing to know, really. But yeah, so I've never been a networker, and it's something I'm trying to get better at, but it doesn't come naturally at all. Yeah. It doesn't come naturally. Yeah.
And so do you like have to really try hard to, like, say, go and talk to that other person at somewhere, and someone that you think might be just a good person to know or something
massively.
Like that?
But I try and have integrity with it, and I try and have an integrity at the heart of everything that I do in life, basically. But again, you know, going back to the social media thing, it's a similar thing. I don't like just connecting with people for the sake of connecting with them because I think they might be useful to me. Yeah. That just feels so wrong to me. So I try to connect with people that I really feel, oh, you know, they seem like a decent person, or somebody that I could... Or
you like what they do, or...
Yeah. And, you know, if I'm commenting on things on Facebook, I'm commenting, or Instagram, I'm commenting on things that actually interest me, not just to, you know, get myself out there sort of thing. So, but, you know, and that's probably not the best way to do things if you want to get known and get the business. But for me, it's more important that I am being true to myself, basically.
I think it's you said something important. I can't remember if it was before when on your message or when we were chatting earlier, but just like learning to accept kind of who you are as well and deal with things that way is really important, and adapting things that way. Yeah, I mean that's certainly something that I've had to learn, because again, going back to what society expects of you, I was certainly told, or, you know, in no uncertain terms, really, in certainly a couple of occasions I can think of, or a couple of instances I can think of, where I was basically told, you know, your personality isn't enough to do this. Yeah. You know, I'm thinking back to when I was at school, from a teacher, from a music teacher at school, and also in a previous job, made to feel very much like
you're not enough. You need to be bigger than this. You need to be more this. You need to
Out
be more
there,
that.
loud,
And I somehow I didn't take it to heart, I don't think. And I've always been quite, like, I don't want to say sure of myself, but I've been okay with myself. And certainly these days, I've learned to, see the benefits of being an introvert for a start. I mean, there's so many things that introverts can bring to the party that extroverts don't do so well. I mean, introverts tend to be really, really attentive to detail. So again, going back to when I'm working for a client and they're asking me, or they're telling me what they want at their wedding, I will really, really listen to that. And I will really take on board what they're saying. And I will make damn sure that what I'm giving them on the day is exactly what they're looking for. So I'm not turning up there at the wedding with an ego, like, okay, I know I've got this song that I can play, and I know I can play it amazing. I want everybody to hear it. So I'm going to, it's not about me.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily want a dominating personality when they just want somebody in the background playing some nice music while their guests are mingling. They just want somebody that can just sit there and play nicely. They don't need Elton John jumping on top of the piano or whatever. They just want, that's never going to be me. I'm very much better just sitting there quietly, just getting on with what I do best. And I think guests appreciate that, and I know that I can deliver exactly what the client is after, basically. So, so I think it's a shame that, as I say, society does tend to favour extroverts, because I think they're introverts can get overlooked, I think, a lot of the time because they don't shout so loud. I read a quote the other day, something about the most assertive people. Oh, I can't remember what it is. I'm going to get it completely wrong, but it's something like, just because somebody's really assertive doesn't mean they're right, or doesn't mean that they're the best person for the job. There's other people that might just be a bit quieter in the background that could be doing a better job. And, as I say, we'll listen to what you want. We'll really, really work hard on it, because introverts work best on their own, really focusing on a task. They will work really, really hard to get it right and present it on the day. And it won't be all about them on the day. It will be about the event. That's why I think I'm good at working in the ballet field, because it is very much not about you at all. It's about the music. It's about the music and the dancers. It's what the dancers need. So there's no room in ballet to be playing what you want. You have to play what works for that exercise or that dance at the time. So, I think that there's so many benefits that introverts can bring to a situation that maybe are overlooked a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think you said something there important as well, is that not the person that gets the job isn't always the best person for the job, but it is the person who shows up more. And that's like what's annoying about social media and just marketing in general, that you kind of need to be that person if you want to get the jobs. So, I mean, do you have any sort of just like tips or any kind of thing, anything mindset stuff that's kind of worked for you in getting past the putting yourself out there?
Well, I would say, first of all, find what works for you. I mean, that's taken a while, I think, to get there. Although I think it's just kind of come organically. So as a musician, just to find what works for me. So the quieter stuff works for me. So, you can certainly be a musician in the function industry, the wedding industry, whatever it is, if you choose your position right. So for me, it's very much background music, ceremony music. So music while people are mingling, having drinks, having their meal, doing the ceremony, even obviously dinner parties and things like that. And any kind of quiet social gathering is where I'm suited best. So and I know that I'm gonna do my best job in that situation. put me in a really rowdy bar or a rowdy meal where people have had, lots to drink and everybody, my performance isn't going to go down so well there, because I'm going to be quietly playing, some genteel music in the background. And people probably just want to sing along at the top of their voices to Come On Eileen or whatever.
Yeah.
So I market myself. That's how I market myself. That is what I do.
Yeah.
That's what works best for me. But yeah, I would say just find your position in the industry, whether it's doing something similar to that or being a solo performer, or it doesn't have to be a solo performer, but yeah, just choose your position that is going to give you the best scenarios to get the best out of you. I would also say, don't be afraid to challenge yourself, though, because there is a phenomenon. There's a phenomenon in being an introvert where, and this is why I thrived doing the choir for so many years.
Yeah.
That as long as you're passionate about something, you can become that extroverted character.
Yeah.
Perhaps for short periods. And nobody knows the difference. So in that scenario, I was running my choirs for 90 minutes at a time, 4 nights a week. And it's interesting. It's like I was able to just, and it's not like I'm acting, it's not like I'm becoming somebody else. It's just tapping into a different part of you just for that short period of time and just going all out and bringing the energy, bringing the fun. Hi guys, ready for the session? Okay, on your feet, let's get going. And of course, initially it was really scary for me and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. But after a few sessions, I was in it and I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this. And as I say, 4 nights a week for 9 years, I did that. And I mean, I had to go and lie down in a darkened room every time afterwards.
Yeah.
And the gigs were really hard because they were over much longer periods of time usually. You'd be turning up, you'd be sound checking, you'd be lining the choir up, ready to get on. Obviously you do all the stuff that is involved in running a gig. And so you were there for a lot longer. You were dealing with an unfamiliar situation. Because this is the other thing, I was going to the same venues every week to run the rehearsals. So it was familiar. It was nothing too scary. It was, not too stressful. But doing gigs at the weekends, that took a lot out of me. And I would come home from a gig and just be aching all over. I really would, because I'd have spent so many hours kind of being responsible for this huge conglomerate of people and making sure they did the best job in their performance. And that really, really did take a lot out of me. And
it's
I
mentally
had to,
draining, right?
Yeah, mentally and physically draining. I had to keep a check on that, not to do too many, because that would have really finished me off, basically. But yeah, certainly for the rehearsals, I was able to just tap into this part of myself that doesn't come out very often and just give it everything and then retreat afterwards. I was very much, a lot of the other choir leaders that did the same job as me, they'd go down to the pub afterwards with their choir members and, they'd be a lot more sociable about it than I would be. I had to be careful of that. And it was something quite tricky because people would, and everybody's so lovely and they all want to come and talk to you at the start and at the end and in the break. And it's lovely that they have such a connection with me that they want to come and tell me, how much they're loving it and this, that, and the other. And it's lovely, but it's also quite draining.
Yeah.
So I had to keep a check, not to sort of, basically to have some kind of boundary there. So I kind of didn't do too much of the socializing outside of the choir. Because I would have found that too much, I think. So I would kind of just do the session and then, that was it then. Mm-hmm. you know. So yeah, I wasn't the type that would be going down the pub every night with the choir members afterwards. So yeah, it's just managing it really. But yeah, finding what works for you, but also not being afraid to challenge yourself. Because as I say, I would never have thought I could have done that job. So it could be that other introverts would be absolutely fine, and I'm sure they would be in the party band at the end of the evening, or being, you know, whatever it is that gets the crowd going, or, you know, any other instance where you'd be working as a function musician. But just monitor it and just take note of how you feel afterwards, and whether you know, how long you think you can do that for, how often you think you could do it. Because I certainly couldn't do this full time.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't be a full-time wedding musician. I look at other people online and they're sort of saying how many gigs they've got booked in this week or this month or whatever, and they're like out nearly every night, and I'm thinking, oh my God, that would absolutely finish me off. Like, just gigs that are spaced out for me is fine. Just do a wedding, do a party, do whatever it is, and then go back to doing my other quieter jobs. Yeah, I feel you. And then once I've kind of recovered from that one, then I'll think about doing the next one. You know, I certainly couldn't be doing it multiple times a week like some people do. Yeah,
I think in those band situations, it's maybe about the people that are in the band with you, and the friendships you've got there and stuff, and the people you trust and things like that, to know.
Yeah, of course.
Your personality and what you can deal with as well.
Yeah, because as I've said before, introverts tend to have, like, they're good with one-on-one conversations, or they're good with really good friendships with a few people, rather than just being mates with everybody. So yeah, I'm sure you can build up that kind of family feel when you're in a band, and kind of rely on each other. And especially, I guess, if you're not like the front person. Yeah. You know, that's probably easier to manage. Yeah. But yeah, I would say don't shy away from stepping outside of your comfort zone, because you could absolutely be missing out on what might turn out to be the best professional decision you ever made, by taking something on and finding, actually, I really, really love this. I've just got to be careful, you know, that it's just for this long, or, you know, I put these things in place to make sure I can manage it. Because I would quite easily have said no to that choir job, thinking that, no, that's beyond me. Yeah. That's not going to fit me. But it turned out to be, probably, without doubt, one of, if not the most fulfilling jobs of my career, basically. So don't shy away from it. But with networking, I would say, as is the case with a lot of things, it's try and think of quality over quantity. So don't just randomly just try and, again, it's like with social media, isn't it? Just liking everything for the sake of it. Yeah. For me, I don't know. It doesn't bring me any kind of sense of satisfaction doing that. So it's quality over quantity, making connections with people that actually resonate with you. Yeah. Rather than trying to be mates with everybody. Yeah. And burning yourself out with it, really. Yeah. Yeah. But just also, just accept that you are enough. I think that's the one big piece of advice I would give. Because again, if I think back to some things I was told when I was at school and when I was in a previous job, that are you going to be enough for this? Well, I think I've proved that I am enough, actually. Yeah. But you just didn't understand me. Yeah. You saw that quiet person that you see day to day, and you think that's the sum total of me, and it's absolutely not. I've got these hidden parts that I can tap into that, you know, can absolutely deliver when I need to. But I'm not showing you that at the moment because this isn't the right time. Yeah, but it is there. Don't you worry. It's there. You know, of course, at the time I didn't say anything because I was questioning myself. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not. Yeah. Maybe I'm not enough. You know. But yeah, don't let people just kind of sum you up in that way. You know, oh, you're shy, you're introvert, whatever. Because I'm sure you know yourself better than anybody. You know whether you can tap into those sides of yourself when you need to. And I knew I could, and I blooming well did. Yeah, my wife always used to call it putting your confidence coat on for those sort of situations. Yeah. And just sort of tapping into that little bit inside you. Yeah. But the other side to that actually is that this is something that again is maybe not so well known, but I think there's two types of introverts. There's introverts that they are an introvert and that's it, and they don't care what anybody else wants from them. You want to talk to me? No, not interested. And that's fine if that's how they want to be. But there's another side to introverts that you're so sensitive to what other people want. It's not exactly like being a people pleaser, but it's just wanting to give that person, especially in a professional setting, you want to give that person what they need. And I knew when I was running the choir and when I run my sessions now, I know that those people, I'm going to get the best out of those people if I give them all the energy I can absolutely muster. Mm. Doesn't necessarily come without a lot of effort on my part, but I know that is what I need. And if I want that to work, I'm going to do that. So yeah, we can tap into that. So it is finding your confidence coat, but it's also being mindful and sensitive to what other people want. And I think that's where we differ from extroverts, because extroverts might tend to just be like, this is me, this is what I am, I'm going to give it to you. Here I am. Rather than, what does that person want though? Do they want that? They might not want that. And that's what I mean about, people don't always want that big personality at a wedding. Yeah. They might just want that person that's not going to take the limelight away from the bride and the groom. They might just want that person that is just going to sit quietly in the corner playing some lovely music, without being too disruptive, So yeah, for me, it's just being very, very sensitive to what is required of me in those situations. And if I'm in a choir situation, they want that energy, great, I'll give you that energy. If the bride is walking down the aisle, it's probably not the time to be, playing the piano with your feet or whatever, it's the time just for delivering that quiet piece of music that is going to work for that setting. And I think that's an important part to note, actually.
Yeah, awesome. I think that pretty much covers the subject really well. I think we've got some really good, hopefully helpful insight in there for people as well. And I think the important thing to maybe finish on is that, this will resonate with a lot of people, I think, but it's just not letting it hold you back, or at least not totally letting it hold you back.
Yeah, absolutely.
But let's move on to some of your best and worst gigs. I'm sure there are some good stories in there. What have you got for us?
Yeah, well, I would say I don't think I've had a bad wedding at all. They've all been really good. And, at other events I do, parties and what have you, corporate events, they've all been absolutely lovely, to be honest. I would say the most interesting gigs, both bad and good, have come through the choir again. But then when I say worst gigs, I just mean worst in terms of the organisation. Because I turned up at a few gigs because very often you're relying on sound engineers and the equipment being there to play your tracks through and what have you. And I've done a few gigs where that just wasn't provided. I certainly remember turning up and there wasn't a PA for a start, having been told that there very definitely was. So seem to remember, luckily I had a portable one in my car, so we used that. There's another gig where the backing track just cut out randomly mid-song, but we just carried on singing a cappella. So actually it turned out to be really good in the end, because it was like one of those challenging circumstances that comes along. You're like, oh God, what do we do now? Just keep singing. And we kept singing. And obviously, at the end, everyone's like, oh my God, how did we do that? That was amazing. So, when I say worst gigs, they often turn out to be the most kind of almost most fulfilling, because you're like, wow, we survived that. How did we do that? And then the best gigs, again, I would have to go back to some of the amazing things I did with the choir, because we did all sorts, from doing a recording session at Abbey Road to, I was up on stage at Hyde Park as part of the Proms in the Park with Radio 2, singing with the BBC Concert Orchestra. I've sung on stage at the O2 Arena. What else? We met loads of famous people, recorded with Susan Boyle and Michael Ball. We went on Britain's Got Talent, doing not as in competing, but doing the live entertainment with Susan Boyle. So we did some really amazing things with the choir. And I do look back really, really fondly on those times. Yeah, that would be it, I think.
Lovely. Yeah. Awesome. That brings us to the last section of the show then, which is the quick fire round. So first question, what would you say is the most effective thing that you've done to market yourself or your business?
I would say the most effective thing is using online agencies and platforms. That's where I seem to get most of my work. So whereas at the start I put all my efforts kind of into social media and my website, which I think obviously is really important, but most of my work comes from those agency platforms basically. Yeah. But obviously you need to have all the content to go on there.
Yeah.
So I guess it's probably a mixture of the two, because I imagine people find me on those platforms and then look me up on social media probably to check me out as well.
Yeah.
So it's probably a combination of two, but that's generally where the leads come from.
Yeah, great. What have you learned in the last 3 months that you wish you knew 3 years ago? Or you could frame this as just something that you wish you kind of knew when you were first starting out.
Yeah, well, I would say actually just in the last, I don't know, year or so, I would say I'm starting to believe in my own self-worth a little bit more. That sounds a bit, I don't know if I like the sound of that, but what I mean by that is just, I think because I worked a lot when I was younger, or even until recently really, for other people a lot. And you kind of feel like you're a bit of a puppet, I suppose, in terms of, you've got to work to certain rules and this, that and the other. But now I'm much more freelance. I can kind of set my own rules and set my own terms and set my own fees and what have you. And initially that can be a bit kind of scary, because you're thinking, well, will people pay for me just as me without having a name behind me, another organization? But they do. And, that brings you some self-confidence. So I think I'm at the point now where I'm feeling really secure in myself as a musician, and knowing that I can deliver in various different settings as I've discussed. Just knowing my own self-worth really, and just believing in myself and what I can bring to the table. Yeah,
that's a great answer. It's okay. No, it is different. But what if you were just starting out now, what is the first thing that you'd do?
Well, what I would do, and this is something I have done, but I didn't do it straight away, and I should have done, is applying for a startup grant or a business grant.
Okay.
Because, they can, depending on what you apply for, and, you can look in your local area to see what's being offered out there. They'll help you with marketing costs and website costs and anything that you're doing to help your business, basically, obviously equipment and things like that as well. Mm-hmm. So, but I did it a little bit further down the line where I'd already paid for that sort of stuff. And I was like, I could have applied for help with that, but I didn't realize it at the time. So I would do that. Yeah.
Great answer. Yeah. What is the biggest mistake that you've made, and what did you learn from it?
The biggest mistake I've made, I would say, is, and this might just be me, and again, my introverted nature not helping me in these circumstances, is, and it's not to say I won't do this again in the future, but I haven't found wedding fairs to be useful for me thus far. I've only done a handful, and I think maybe I've chosen the wrong ones. So if I was going to do them again, I would choose them much more carefully. because I think I've chosen ones that just were not well attended at all.
Right.
And you basically spend your whole day there for very little engagement at all. You know, if the people aren't even there, you know, you're not really going to get anywhere. So, but even more than that, what I decided to do, because at the start, when I was starting out, I was so keen, just like, okay, I'm just going to offer, just what can I do that's going to make me stand out? And so I was just trying to just promise people the world, basically.
Yeah.
And what I decided to do was to say to people on the day, fill out a little request form, and I will go home and record that song for you and send it to you. And that took a hell of a lot of work and effort and time. And I spent ages, and I was so keen to get these recordings just right. So I spent ages doing all these recordings for all these people that had filled up these request slips, and then didn't get anything back from it, basically. Yeah. So I haven't done that again. Yeah. I was just making more work for myself because I was so keen to put myself out there and prove that I can do the job. And it was far too much. I made so much more work for myself. I didn't need to.
Yeah. I mean, but you got to try these things, I suppose, as well.
Yeah. But I've learned.
Yeah. So last question then. Do you use any specific tools or apps that help you manage your business? Yeah,
so I use Fourscore, which is a notation or like a sheet music app. Mm-hmm. Basically, you can just keep all your sheet music together, and you can build playlists or set lists, and you can do all sorts on it. You can annotate it, and there's all sorts you can do on it. So as a solo pianist, I do use a lot of sheet music, and especially when people are asking me for new stuff I've never played before, I will find the sheet music online and upload it. So that's really, really useful if you are somebody that does use sheet music as part of your work. I mean, I'm sure there's other ones out there. That one works for Apple. Don't think it works for Android, that one. But yeah, Fourscore it's called. Really, really good. What else do I use? I use Canva a lot for graphic design. I've started using CapCut for video, I'm going to say video editing. It's literally just like the basic of the basic, trimming and just adding text and what have you. I know you can do it in social media platforms themselves.
It don't seem to work as well, I don't think.
It can be a bit clunky and it doesn't always turn out how I've expected it to turn out. So doing it on something like CapCut and then uploading it, and it's just easier to work with, I find. But I am talking about the basic of the basic, because I don't do video editing. I mean, I could, but it takes up a lot of time. And this is something else I do use is outsourcing, basically. So I've started to use platforms like Upwork and Fiverr to find people that can do these things for me, because if I really, really tried hard and put a lot of time, and I have in the past, I've spent blooming hours doing video editing. And, in the end, I can be quite pleased with what I've come up with. But my word, it's taking up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And I've come to the point where I'm like, actually, what is my time worth?
Yeah. Yeah.
And, because I've never got enough time, as I'm sure most people are in the same boat, but especially I think because I've got so many different jobs.
Yeah.
That require a lot of headspace and a lot of time. I just don't have the time to be doing all these extra jobs. So I've outsourced video editing, and I've found a really good person on Upwork who's done a really good job. I'm really happy. So I will use him again. I've tried to outsource for other things with varying success, I would say. So I would be careful as to when you're hiring people, choosing the right people, and you don't always get it right first time. I've definitely chosen I haven't chosen right all the time, but things like doing my SEO. Yeah. I mean, again, if I really, really wanted to do it, I'm sure I could work it out, but my word, it blows my mind. And anything to do with algorithms and all of that sort of thing just absolutely just overwhelms me. So it's better for me to get somebody else in to do these things. So, and I am yet to find anybody that can do that reliably for me. So if you know anybody, let me know. Or if anybody wants to comment in your episode notes. I've struggled to find people that can do that side of things. The web developing and the SEO and all of that stuff. It blows my mind. I don't understand how it works.
Yeah.
And social media, I would love to get somebody, as I've already said, I struggle with social media. I would love to get somebody that could do it for me, but it's not something I can budget for at the moment.
Yeah.
But if anybody can do it on a budget, that would be amazing. I would love to find people to do these things, but I've struggled. The other person I have found is somebody that does really good piano transcriptions.
Yeah.
I found him on Fiverr. So if I need to work out how to play something and I found like an audio or a video of the piece of music, again, I could sit down for hours and work it all out myself or work it out by ear. But it's easier for me just to have a sheet of music, and then, because I know, I can just read that and play it, done. So I can get somebody to transcribe it for me. So I've used Upwork and Fiverr for those. ChatGPT, I use that a lot for just life, basically.
Yeah, and it was down this morning, and I was like, oh my God, I've got to use my brain to do something.
Oh my God, yeah,
like,
that is the only worrying thing, that we are just going to stop using it, because I use it for literally everything now. Everything, and it's so useful. But again, you've got to be careful that you don't just rely on it, because it makes a lot of mistakes. I've noticed that as well. So you've got to be careful. And yes, you do have to use your brain a little bit sometimes as well, unfortunately.
Cool. Yeah, this has been really fun, I think, and I really hope it's been useful to some people as well. I definitely think it's going to resonate with quite a few people out there. So just lastly then, if people wanted to connect with you or find out any more about you, where would you like to send them?
Yeah, so they can go to my website, which is christahugopianist.co.uk. Krista, by the way, is spelled Chrisista. I get a lot of variations on that. And also I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram, same thing, Christa Hugo Pianist. I'm on YouTube as well, Christa Hugo Pianist. And yeah, those are the main places people can find me.
Amazing. Obviously, I'll include all of those in the episode description as well. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with us, and a bit about you. Really
thanks, Jack. It's been really, really fun talking to you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
So there we go. I really hope you enjoyed that episode, and I just want to say a massive thank you to Krista for coming on and chatting to me. So that's it for this one. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next week to episode 16.